Hello 108 class, welcome back to section 5.1. Mr. McHugh here with you. We are going to tackle page 3. We're going to work on some more exponents. This one's I call it another negative exponent rule. This one is good to know. It's what happens if you've got a fraction with a negative outside exponent. Now what you could do is follow my inside outside exponents and multiply them and get negative x to the negative 3 and y to the negative 3, and realize the negative exponents you need to take them to the other half with the positives, and then realize that y to the third, x to the third could be rewritten as parentheses y divided by x quantity third. Okay, now what that's kind of showing you is you can think of a shortcut here, and let me highlight the shortcut here, is that if you have a fraction raised to a negative exponent, and that's what here's a fraction raised to a negative exponent, it is equal to the reciprocal, its reciprocal raised to the positive. So look at this problem and see if you can go straight from here all the way over to the answer. It's kind of cool if you can do that. It'll save you some steps here. So you look at a fraction raised to the negative exponent. Realize the negative exponent tells you to write the reciprocal, so flip the numerator and the denominator, and there's your y divided by x raised to a positive. Okay, so that's a good one to know. I use that when it's a fairly simple fraction. We're going to do some examples down here where there's lots of positive and negative exponents, and I just decide to follow my power rule of multiplying the inside outside exponents, get rid of the parentheses, and then deal with the negative numbers. Okay, so that's my guideline for that. So let's go ahead and keep cruising here and look at example 7. And what do you have here? Here's an illustration of the fraction raised to a negative reciprocal. Excuse me, my word. A fraction raised to a negative exponent. Write the reciprocal, change the sign to positive, and you're done. Okay, now this note here is you need to look on your book on page 269, and you will see typically what I call Lawry's rules of all the exponent guidelines. Okay, now your task is to not memorize all those, not use A and M's and N's. Notice I taught these without even using those, but to rewrite those in your hand note summaries for this section, and either write examples or write the words out so that you know that if you multiply by the same base, you do what? Add. This simple illustration of one of our first rules is what you need to see and say in your words. Okay, so that's up to you, but if you take the time to master those rules in your way that works, then you will be doing great in this chapter. Okay, so let's move on to objective 5, talking about simplifying expressions with exponents. Okay, and when you do these problems, there's more than one way to do them. As long as you follow the shortcuts correctly, you will be okay. Now here's an example here where I picked a few of these. I notice I'm dividing by the same base, and so I subtracted the exponents. I notice I'm dividing by the same base, so I subtract the exponents. What do you get? X to the negative 6, and 2 minus 5 turns into a positive. Watch your subtractions on these, okay? Make sure you don't make a mistake there. Please show a little bit of enough work through these so you can go back and follow your traces, because this is where you'll make your mistakes with the subtractions. Now I've got x to the negative 6th. I know I don't care for negative exponents, so I drop it down in the denominator, and you've got your answer. Okay. Here's another example here. Ask yourself, what are you dealing with? I see parentheses, I see inside exponents, I see outside exponents. What do? Power rule. Multiply. Okay. Negative 2 times 3. Negative 2 times negative 2. There's a little bit of the detail work. Results, 2 raised to the negative 6. X raised to the positive 4. Okay. Don't care for negative exponents, so what do? Drop it down into the denominator, make it a positive exponent, so you get 2 squared, oh my word, 2 to the 6th is 64, and x to the 4th up on top. Okay. Now, Let's do one more example here. I got example G, and I think I'm going to try to show this. Well, first let's go this way. Let's take care of this way. Now, this one says my approach. There's more than one way to do these, and here's what I mean. I like to use the power rules. I like to use inside exponent, outside exponents, and distribute or multiply. I use the word distribute a little. I'm shaking my head. You can't see me with my hand waving, but think of it as multiplying. It's okay in your brain to say that. Mathematicians don't call that distributive, but it's okay. You get the idea. Parentheses, you multiply 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 1. What would you get for your answer? You'd get what? 3 squared, which is 9, x to the 4th, y to the 2nd. Remember, pop up any times you don't see an exponent, pop it up. Now over here, I see the -1, and I'm still going to follow that. You could go back up to the top of the page and say, hey, you've got a fraction, raise to the negative exponent, write the reciprocal, raise it to the positive. I don't do that because you still got negatives there. I see a positive and I see a negatives. When I multiply these all out, I'm still going to have negatives. Why jump through that hoop? That's just my personal preference. Okay, so I'm using a power rule. Inside exponents, outside exponents. What do you do, class? Talk to me. Yes, multiply. So here you go. 4 raised to the negative first. X to the -3. I'm multiplying. Y to the -1 times the -2. Positive 2. Watch the details. Okay. 4 raised to the -1 drops down. Okay. I think I forgot to multiply. Yeah, here's the 9. Sorry, it comes over here. And x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. What do? Multiply by the same base, add them. 4 plus a -3, x to the 1st. Y to the 2nd times y to the 2nd is y to the 4th. Okay, there's a couple examples on here. There's more than one way to do these. Show your work. Make sure you can follow your detailed steps in case you get a wrong answer. You know to go back up, follow your work, and find your mistakes. Okay, Mr. McHugh here. We are done with page 3. We've got one more section to do for section 5.1, so I will see you for page 4. Okay, bye-bye.